Malmö, the third largest city in Sweden, is home to approximately 270,000 residents, strategically positioned at the heart of the Horizon region. It boasts excellent connectivity in all directions. As a dynamic hub of culture, commerce, and education, Malmö attracts people from across the globe, creating a diverse and vibrant community where over 160 nationalities communicate in more than 100 languages. Beyond its cosmopolitan character, Malmö is historically significant as a stronghold of social democracy in Sweden. However, the city is undergoing rapid urban development, shaping its landscape and identity at an accelerated pace. Today, we have the opportunity to meet Jenny Grtve in Malmö. While she typically spends her days working from her beautiful and calm office in the heart of the city, she has invited us to visit her at her home, a setting that offers a more personal glimpse into her world.
And thank you, Jenny. And it's always difficult for me to introduce her. Yeah. Are you architect, strategy designer, a writer? In my view, my point of view, you're all of them. But how do you define yourself?
I can't remember now if we have talked about this before or not, but I have not too long ago. Because you're always asked the same thing, like when you meet someone new, when what's your name, what do you do, what do you work with, and I've been wondering if it's like our human need to like define other people so that we can place them in spaces in our minds. Okay, you're an architect. Okay, then that goes with this. Now I know who you are or what I'm expecting from you. So I think it's maybe a little bit frustrating for people when they can't define you. I can't define myself. I actually don't know
Who am I?
who I am exactly, and I'm personally fun with that. Like it's okay for me. But if you would look at my CV, for example, I have a master in architecture, so I have. You could say that I am an architect, but I've never done a house. I've never worked in an architecture office. Does that make me into an architect? I don't know. You could question that maybe. So I think what I normally tend to use as the descriptions more maybe a strategic designer and a writer.
And right. It's a good point because nowadays I face many young students, architect students, but then there's lack of job in everywhere, even in Iran, about the architecture stuff. But the thing is, should we continue as an architect after we graduate, an architect or not? I think you're the good example. You studied architecture, and maybe the study you did affected on you. In your career, your future career.
Yeah.
And what do you think about this? Should we continue as an architect when we study architecture or not?
Yeah. I think, now it's very different. So when you and I studied and compared to today, I think the reality is very different. And because when I was in school, you were still expected to become a traditional architect and create buildings. But now we sit in a world where we know that the whole construction industry is responsible for enormous amounts of carbon emissions. So we can't build somebody as we
like a traditional way.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just going to hear spots. The ball from the little doy. Can't hear. But I think of the architecture education, I think what it does, which I think is super, super valuable, is that you're taught to think of so many things at the same time, like capacities of going into details and zooming into small scales, but then also zooming out and look at architecture from urban planning levels or, city levels. So I think that skill is something that society needs. And I think if we probably both architects and architecture schools need to maybe shift from what we have been doing and use those skills, but for something else and something different.
Today, sometimes you talk about the vision we made for ourselves. When we studied as an architecture, we can change our vision about our life and then can do anything else. I mean, different careers like sustainability or many other jobs. But the next, not a question, but I wrote some questions here about organizing this interview. But we will talk about the Anon first. When I started my job in Europe, Anon, at the beginning it was difficult to explain what the Anon is, in that time. But step by step, for me at least, it became very easy to understand. And it's the same like a job when we explain ourselves, who am I in this fast life, in this life.
Yeah.
Everything is too fast, I think. But everything very mixed, very interdisciplinary, and maybe we can't define ourselves with just one word and one job. It's very mixed and happened at Anon. Would you like to talk about the Anon PLB?
Yeah. No, but yes. But it's I mean, as a project, it was very undefined intentionally, because I had no idea what I wanted, what I wanted to do. The only thing I knew was the feeling that I had and what I wanted to kind of share with others. But I had been working for another design company for quite a few years, and then I left that design firm because we worked mostly theoretically with systems thinking and creating solutions for society, but we never tested anything. We never explored or did real physical tests or experiments. And then I thought I wanted to do that. So I left that company, and I managed to get hold of this space in the city center of Malmö, an old store, and that I got for just a temporary space, like for a few months. And I wanted to kind of see how can you discuss societal issues with everyone in the city, not only architects or, municipality workers or policymakers, but like everyone is invited into this space. But that was more or less the only plan I had. And I mean, we've talked about this so many times, but I managed to get a journalist write about this. And the first day when I opened the door, I really didn't have a plan. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen or what, it was not that I knew for these 3 months, here's the program. But I wanted to co-create that with anyone who might come in. Yeah, but it was, but I think it's, as we started the same thing of like defining everything, I think we're so used to being told exactly what to do, and also exactly how we should behave or what we should be thinking. And if we want to change the world, I think we also need to be open to changing how we are, like how our relationships, how we relate to work, how we relate to the work we do, projects, to how things should be set up and organized.
I can say you open that place with your heart.
Yeah.
Combines it.
Yeah.
And then many good things happened there. Lots of events, many people came by, and it was really nice experience, at least for me. And why do you think we need this kind of projects for places in the city, house again. How do you came about that? Why do you need this kind of places? And what's this?
But yeah, I would say. I mean, and now I'm talking about my context. Maybe it's important to say that I'm in Scandinavia. I'm in a Swedish setting. I grew up here. Like, so what the challenges, for example, that I see are the challenges that we see in Sweden. But I think we're very disconnected from life, like disconnected from each other. We're stuck in this capitalist machine. Like, you need to go to school to get a good education, to then get a good job, so you get a lot of money, and then you're having a family, and then suddenly life is over. But then you can also say there's so many other ways of living. And I mean, if you really take it a bit further, it's like life is beautiful. Like, to be able to breathe, to be a human being for a little while, I mean, that's magic. But most people don't take the time to actually sit down and go like, wow, what are we here for? Like, this is how can we have a really nice conversation? What does that mean? So I think that's what I miss in modern society, in Sweden at least. Spaces where we take time, where we enjoy, where we share, where we, make life meaningful.
Amazing. So, we're going to talk about this issues like economy and capitalism or
patriarchy.
Yeah. Later, but what do you do now?
So I have a new job, and now I'm head of transformation at European Institute of Technology and Innovation. So yeah, a European Innovation Institute. So my job is to support culture and creativity and that whole sector in Europe, and creating platforms or networks and collaborations, and also providing funds sometimes.
Nice. Yeah. I think you can jump onto the next part, which is all this connected together. But we talk about the economy, and I know you're passionate about the economy and these things. But most of the people, they're gonna watch this interview, they're most architect, maybe, I guess. But maybe they ask this question, what the economy affected on their job as an architect, and what's the role of economy? Because sometimes it's very obvious in some country, and when you talk about the capitalist, the usual people remember USA, or when we talk about the liberalist, maybe they remind UK, or here as an social democratic. But in Iran, everything is very complicated. We can't define very clearly, everything very mixed. But maybe we can define with the Western world, but we have the different kind of economy. Sometimes very liberal, sometimes very capitalist, sometimes very socialist. But I would love to ask you about this. What's the economy affects on our job, and how can the economy can shape our society and architecture and our city?
Yeah, I am extremely interested in economy, and not being an economist as well. I think I've given myself a lot of freedom to explore what economy is, and I think for most people, when you think about economy, you think about like money, the stock market, your salary, things you need to survive. I mean, that's like the money bubble of the economy. Whereas I think what the economy that I'm often talking about is actually how we use our shared resources, which is many of them, like the planetary resources that we have, many of them are finite. So that's how do we, if we have one planet and we have a bunch of living things on that planet, how do they relate? How much can you take? What do you need to survive? How are they interrelated? For me, that's the economy. So I mean, there are different ways of looking at economy. You could also argue that there's like care economy, for example, which in Scandinavian setting, many are now talking about, which is also another type of economy that is rarely involving any money, yet it's also very needed for survival. So there's different layers of economic structures. But the really sick one is the one that I first mentioned, like the one where we are only looking at money, and the one that is constantly need to grow to survive. Like it needs that growth, otherwise it won't function as we've built that system right now. So we're all part of economy, and to say that, no, I don't know how much that's going to affect me, or it's not part of my job, that's just not true, because we're all part of this economy. So I think it's really up to every one of us to maybe read more about economy and how it affects where you are, and then also your responsibility to break that part or, use it in different ways. I mean, I think for architects, I've for a long time been looking into what if the construction industry worked more as a non-profit? For example, like just using what you need and then not more. Because again, here in Scandinavian settings, the construction industry has always been very rich. If you talk about money, it's a business where you can really, really, really make some big. But what if that's gone? What if the focus is not the money within the construction industry? What if the focus is something completely different? What would then happen in the whole industry?